All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome, and thanks for making it tonight. We are going to go ahead and get started since it is 5:30. I want to thank everybody here for joining us for our Beyond the Beer series tonight. We understand that these are challenging times for many reasons, but we are so happy that you are here to join us tonight, and we hope that this is a fun and educational webinar for all of you. We are here to build RAM community and be a resource, and we hope that this webinar is just one of the many ways that we can do that. While I'm speaking, feel free to download our free alumni app and stay updated with the other events that are happening in your area, as well as virtually. I would also like to remind everybody that the CSU Day of Giving will be coming up and will be taking place this year on May 6th and 7th. So feel free to mark that in your calendars that we will be doing our CSU Day of Giving during that. While I'm also speaking, I would love to have everybody just open up your chat box. You can switch the chat to say to attendees, to say all attendees and panelists. And feel free to enter your information. You can introduce yourself, say your name, the year that you graduated, if you want, the college that you graduated from, and then where you're coming in from tonight. We've had people come from all across the world, all across the nation to come into these virtual webinars. So we love the idea of being able to share your information and connect with the other RAMs that are here. I do want to thank everybody again for being here tonight, but I specifically want to thank our members for being here tonight. Without members, we are not able to host events like this. So we thank our members so much for everything that they're doing. If you're interested in becoming a member, feel free to use the QR code, as well as I will put some information in the chat for you to click on later. But again, thank you so much for all of our members for being here tonight. We would also, I just got a couple more things for everybody. Number one, this is a webinar, so you will not be seen, you will not be heard, but if you'd like to talk, you can enter a question into the chat. We also have a Q&A area as well. So if you have a question, we're going to be answering all of the questions at the end of the presentation. Unless it's something specific and needs to get answered at that one point in time. I will be filtering all the questions to give to Corey after she's done doing her presentation. Also in the chat, I will put some information if you're having any technology trouble, as well as my contact information. Feel free to call me or email me during the presentation. I'll be able to help you out. And I will also put some of the upcoming events that's going on with the CSU Alumni Association and link you over to our calendar if you are interested to hear about more things that we are doing, hopefully in person one day, but also virtually for now. And without further ado, I'm super excited to introduce you tonight's guest speaker, Corey Odell. Corey is the Sustainability Coordinator at Odell Brewing Company. One of the many great things about Corey is that she has focused on everything from waste management to data analysis and participates in local communities, including the Northern Colorado Renewable Energy Society as well. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Corey. Thank you again, Corey, for doing this. We're so excited to have you.
Great, thank you, Corey. So as Corey mentioned, I'm Corey Odell, Sustainability and actually Learning and Development Coordinator at Odell Brewing as well. That's a smaller piece of my job that concerns education for our coworkers internally. Yeah, first, before I start my presentation, I want to apologize if there's noise in the background. Unfortunately, I can't have the dogs outside of the room or they'll bark. And this time of day, they tend to want attention. So hopefully, I tried to entertain them beforehand, but hopefully they will not be too obnoxious. So anyway, I'm going to start my presentation. So today I am going to be talking about Odell history. So everything Odell, I guess. A little bit of history, where we are today. Oh my goodness, hush. I'm sorry. I apologize about that. I'm going to be talking about our, I'm sorry, that really distracted me. I'm going to put in my headphones, so hopefully I am not quite so distracted by the sound behind me. Okay, I'm going to talk about who we are today, where we've come from, and just a couple other things about who we are as a company, Odell Brewing. So first, some context to put you into the right place. So we were started in 1989 in Fort Collins, Colorado by Doug, his wife Wynn, and his sister Corky. And we are the oldest production craft brewery in Colorado. Now, what does that mean? If you are not familiar, a production brewery is so there's two designations, production or brew pub. So a brew pub serves food and they're licensed separately. So we're a production brewery and we are a craft brewery. So a craft brewery is considered small and independent. And independent means that less than 50% of the ownership is outside of the brewery, and small meaning less than 6 million barrels in a year. A barrel is 31 gallons. And to put that into some perspective, our local Anheuser-Busch facility in Fort Collins produces 10 million barrels in a year, and they're one of 12 in just the US. There's, I think, 20 around the world as well. So smaller than that. And we, being the 19th largest craft brewery, last year produced 130,000 barrels of beer. So that means that they get very large very quickly after our size. We currently have over 200 co-owners. And you may have noticed I said owners because we are employee owned since 2015. So what do? We make beer. That's pretty much our biggest one. I'll talk a little bit about the other things we do as well, but we are a manufacturing company. We turn ingredients into a product for you guys to enjoy. So these are just a couple of our products that we currently can, our beers. We started with 90 Shilling, that's our flagship up in the upper left-hand corner there. And we've obviously changed a little bit since then, delving much more into hops and some fruited beers. And now we're also doing hard kombucha and started the OBC Wine Project as well. So we're offering products for people who maybe don't like beer or can't drink beer, just want something a little bit different. So let's go back to the beginning. How did we get to this point of being as large as we are and where we are today? Well, before Colorado, Doug got some brewery experience in Anchor Steam Brewing in San Francisco, one of the oldest craft breweries in the United States. And he moved to Seattle, went into landscaping, but was still doing home brewing on the side. That was something that he was pretty good at and really enjoyed doing. And then Wynn came in with a financial background. So that really helped with that side of things. In the late 80s, they decided they wanted to be self-employed and decided to open a brewery. But Seattle was too crowded. There were 9 breweries in all of Oregon and Washington. It was definitely a different time period, but craft brewing was really brand new at that time. So yeah, there are a couple more today. I think there's 4,000 in the US in total, or 8,000. Yes, sorry, I got that mixed up. So why Fort Collins? Well, they were looking for a couple of different things. A university town, CSU, obviously adds for a more dynamic group of people, more allowing for innovation and new consumers all the time, close to a big city, but not a big city. And with interstate access really allows us to get the ingredients that we need and move our product easily. And then the people, a love of outdoors and outdoor recreation, proud of where we live. Fort Collins is a great community in a beautiful state with wonderful outdoor experiences very close by. And Corky lived here, so she was familiar with the area, and it seemed like, or she knew that it would be a good fit. And then the last thing, which is potentially one of the most important, is self-distribution. So in a number of states, it's illegal for an alcohol manufacturer to distribute their own product. So if you're small, you have to go through, and what I mean by that is they can't just take a keg of beer to an account to sell at a bar or a restaurant. So instead, in those cities or those states, you have to go through a distributor. And that means that if you're really small, you may not have a lot of say as to what happens to your product or where it goes, or what focus it's given as well. So that was something that was a huge benefit to us at the very beginning. Okay, so we opened November 18th, 1989. That was our opening day in Fort Collins with a facility with a capacity of 1,500 barrels in a year. And we were profitable in the first year, which we weren't really sure what was going to happen, but not sustainable until the second. Meaning Doug, Wynn, and Corky forgot to pay themselves that first year, but it really did help move the company forward. We got to pay our investors back a little bit faster. And by investors, I mean family members. So this was Coloradoan had an article of our opening. I just thought this was a fun thing to add. It's unfortunately a little blurry, but it gets the point across. And this is our first facility. We were literally a quarter mile down the road from where we are currently in an old grain mill. So this is at the corner of where Mountain turns into Lincoln by downtown, where Mountain turns into Lincoln and where Jefferson turns into Riverside. We converted this grain mill into a brewery for ourselves. This was the front entrance where you can see the brew system to the left. And here is Doug at our original 15-barrel brew system. So that means that this system could, at capacity, brew 15 barrels of beer at once. And then this is our office space. So this picture was taken standing in the brew house, facing the office, and we had to cover everything up when we were brewing because it got so humid, it would probably ruin the computer and paperwork and everything we had going on there. Very small facility. And then this is our little sales area, still in that same room with some merchandise, and it was only beer to go at that point, draft only. So that was kegs or growlers that you could take home. And the fellow behind the counter there is our own Eric Smith, or Smitty, who is now our CEO. So one of our longest employees. And then this is our cellar, very small, with 2 fermenters that could hold 15 barrels of beer and a bright tank in the background. Bright tanks is where you carbonate your product. And then kegging. We didn't have a lot of, safe lifting practices going on then. Had to load kegs and put them upside down into a sink in the basement. So when we started, we were founded on English-style ales. That's what history Doug had in terms of his brewing styles. There weren't a lot of hoppy beers available at that time anyway. Hops were considered more a necessity to brewing instead of something that we could make exciting. So the first beer that we brewed was a golden ale, in part because Doug wasn't sure how something that wasn't a light American lager would sell. Because that was all that was available from large breweries like Anheuser-Busch and Coors. But we quickly moved on to more interesting beers, I guess. That's not necessarily the nicest thing to say, but more complex beers like 90 Shilling, because we did find there was an interest for something different. And then 5 years later, we ran out of space. We needed more capacity, so we built a new facility for ourselves in 1994. Still draft only at that point, but we installed a 50-barrel brew house. So went up from 15 to 50. And here's Doug, very excited to be breaking ground. The framework going up, and then the final product. And so this is the start of the facility that we're in today, and I'll go through a little bit about what that looks like as well. And then this is our 50-barrel brew system, so a little bit larger than the one we had before. This is the new tap room with fermenters behind. and office space with retail behind that, and over on the left, again, that tap room. So again, very small space that we were working with, and some merchandise. Now, 2 years later, we had to expand again. We decided to add a bottling line and expand our tap room so we could actually have folks sit in and drink a product. So construction in progress, and then this is the result of that 94 expansion. The bottle line and warehouse in the back, and then the expanded tap room in the front. And that middle section was of darker roof. That was the original facility. Just a couple pictures from the installation of our bottling line. It was a beautiful snowy January day. Another piece of that, and then installation of some new fermenters as well, because we needed new space to ferment our product. And then here's the bottling line installed. This is the same one that we have today. We slowly started realizing as we were growing that we needed to buy something that was a lot larger than we needed at the time, so we could grow into it and really become more efficient with it and not have to upgrade all the time. I mean, we'd already upgraded twice in less than 10 years. Well, yeah, so 3 times we were moved in 10 years. We didn't really know that we were going to be expanding so much, in all fairness, but as things were going so well, we realized we needed to invest a little bit more in our space. And then these are our coworkers from that time period. As I mentioned, we have over 200 now, but 25 years ago, it was just a handful. All right, so we lasted 13 years before we had to expand again in 2009 when we doubled our space. So you see the original facility with some construction happening, new fermenters. So this was Cellar Bravo. In our first brew house, where we had that 50-barrel system, which we now call Cellar Alpha, that has 200-barrel fermenters. These were 400-barrel fermenters, so a little bit larger. And then this is the result of that expansion. The old facility is on the back side of this. We're looking at it from the west on this side. Added a new entrance, new parking lot, very exciting stuff. But we also added 11,000 square feet of solar panels, or a 76.5 kilowatt array. It gets us about maximum 4% of our total electricity usage, because if you're manufacturing a product, you tend to use a lot of resources, but we are producing some that we create ourselves. Now, 2014, yet again, we had to double our capacity. Our brew house was running at capacity. That 50-barrel system was not making it. So we put in, we pretty much doubled our space. And then I wanted to add this piece in because we didn't actually expand for the keg line and can line in 2016, but we did have to reorganize our facility to fit those in there. So this is from the 2014 expansion, adding more fermenters. These ones are 800-barrel fermenters. So again, just jumping up in size, adding more capacity. And this is the installation of our brew house. And the result of the 2014 expansion. This is pretty much what we look like today. And some updated pictures. This is what the brew house looks like on the second floor. It is doing very well for us, and hopefully we won't have to do anything to upgrade it for a long time. We do have the ability to add another piece of equipment in where the Odell leaf is at the center there, and that will help double our capacity, so we won't have to to expand our facility any further. This is our pilot system. So that brew house that I should mention, this brew house is 135 barrels. So we jumped up from a 50-barrel system to 135 barrels. But, it's fun to be able to play around with smaller amounts, to come up with fun products that maybe we aren't going to go full scale with. And that's where our pilot system comes around. We have had this in place since 2005, I believe, or maybe even before that, where we can brew a small 10-barrel batch of beer and just have it available as a specialty item in our tap room, or we often brew with all sorts of accounts, charitable nonprofits that we work with. We've done wedding beers for our coworkers. So really fun things that we can play around with there. And our updated tap room and our beer garden. So this facility is hopefully at its capacity. We hopefully will not have to expand more into the future, maybe adding more fermentation, but we're not looking to become a behemoth. And that's something we had to make a decision about as we were going along, because we keep growing and growing. And do we really want to grow all the way up? Do we want to become even bigger? Do we want to get into all 50 states, maybe go international, maybe put another giant facility somewhere else in the US? Or do we want to grow in a different way? And obviously, we chose the second, and I'll tell you a little bit about that now. So, part of why we wanted to grow in a different way is because we love our community. We love Colorado. We still do 60% of our total sales in Colorado, 13% of our total sales in Fort Collins, and or in Larimer County, I should say. And we have a wonderful relationship with our city, with nonprofits that we work with here. We donate 1% of our revenue to a lot of our local nonprofits, and we love having been able to see them grow over the years due to our support and the support of the community as well. And so in growing, we wanted to figure out a way that we could do this elsewhere, that we could create that sense of community and really create something that's valuable for everyone. So in comes our 5 Points Brew House in the River North District of Denver. This is in an art community, and we are really happy to partner with artists there and create something that kind of fits the vibe of that area. And it's just a little bit different. Up in Fort Collins, our focus is a lot on kind of the human side of things, education, underserved populations, environment, those sorts of things. But here we really get to change it up and contribute to our artistic community. And then Sloan's Lake. Oh, so I should mention Rhino was opened in 2018. Sloan's Lake is our new facility that we opened up just a couple weeks ago in Sloan's Lake, Denver. And it is a brew house and pizza place. So it's in a family community as well. There are a lot of houses around it. And so this will allow us to kind of create something that is valuable for that community as well. We're not entirely sure what that is yet, since we just opened up, but it's likely to be much more family oriented and probably around sustainable farming and getting food to those who need it as well. And then our OBC wine project, that's obviously something that is a complete departure from what we've done in the past, but it really allows us to create something that is just a different experience and allows us to give in ways that are, just a little bit different than what we do in the brewery. Same with All Kind Kombucha. That one, we are actually doing 1% for the planet from the revenue from that. So we're part of that organization instead of doing our own thing with the brewery. So I mentioned before that when we became employee owned in 2015, and that's when our ESOP went through. That's an employee stock ownership program. And so why did this happen? Well, Dougwin and Corky won't live forever. They had to come up with some sort of plan moving forward. And so they had a couple different options to close the facility, which obviously was not going to be happening considering how well we were doing. To sell out, which means that we would sell to a larger corporation like Anheuser-Busch or Coors or something along those lines. Or we could sell into our employees. Hint, we did that. So the question was, when we were looking at these options, how do we keep true to who we are? Because as I mentioned, we have this great community value, and we also do a lot of things internally that really we think make us a very strong company. So how do we keep true to that? We consider ourselves an evergreen company, and so selling in was kind of the obvious choice for that. What is an evergreen company? It's a company that is going to move forward strongly for forever, essentially. We're driven by a very strong purpose. We will persevere through any obstacles that are coming through our way. We're focused on our people, on our community, on our coworkers, on our consumers as well. That we want to better everyone so that we can all move forward in the right direction and become a better company. We are also private. If you are owned by outside investors, they have a say as to what can happen. And if they decide that they don't like the way that the company is going, they can choose to do something else, which would kind of go against everything that we're doing else or inside. Profit, obviously, we need to keep making money so we can support ourselves and keep doing better for everyone. But paced growth, you can't just blow up and become super gigantic. You want to be the tortoise in the race, slow and steady, and being very thoughtful in how you move forward. And then pragmatic innovation is the last one, that we're constantly coming up with new ways to be better and to better our company and our beer moving forward. So that's all I have, really. This is the last picture we had, all of our coworkers together in January of last year. We're hoping to do that again. We've grown a little bit since then with our new locations opening up. Oh, and I should mention that wine is not open currently, but it will be open in May. So look forward for that. You are able to find it in stores though, but the facility itself isn't open. All right, so that's all I have. So I'm ready for questions. If you guys are ready. Oh, there were a lot that came through that I couldn't. Oh, thank you, Stan. I apologize for their chaos in the background. They've been a lot more troublesome lately than I was anticipating. I thought running them around before the presentation would be enough, but apparently it was not.
Also, there was a question about can we see the pups? So.
Oh. Well, they're behind a barricade because I didn't want them to actually come over here.
There was a question earlier asking about the wine. What kind of wine are you guys making?
Yeah, so right now we're doing canned wines. Those are the ones that are available in stores. We have a white blend, red blend, rosé, and rosé with bubbles. But as soon as the tap room opens up, we're going to start with a lot of our more unique varieties. We're working a lot with Colorado grown grapes. The other stuff we're getting from a grape farm actually out in Oregon that they also produce our hops. So nice relationship there. But we're currently working with Colorado grapes, natural fermentation, aging in some of our beer barrels like our Freak. We're also working with kind of a different way of processing grapes to, it's a carbonic wine. I am not as familiar. I apologize with that side of things, but I'm really excited about what's coming up because we're able to play around a lot with different sorts of things with our facility.
Awesome. The next question that I have was, what has it been like during the pandemic?
Oh, yeah, well, so let's see. A lot happened last year. I'm sure that's the case for everyone. But when we shut down, we had to do a mad scramble. Fortunately, we didn't have to shut down entirely because we are a manufacturer and we are producing a product. Our production folks could still go in to make sure that we weren't wasting our beer and that we could still produce it. But we do a lot of sales through draft. I think about 30% of our total sales are draft, which means kegs, which means restaurants and bars. So we had to do a mad dash to figure out what to do with the product that we had in house and how we could not waste it. So we shifted a lot of our products that we had in our tanks that were settled or going to go into kegs and put those into cans. So we were able to put those into market, which was great because there was kind of a beer apocalypse that was going on. People just buying beer left and right from stores. I actually was helping with stocking early on to make sure that we did have enough beer on shelves for people to buy. But then the other stuff, the stuff that was already in kegs, we actually did a lot of that, putting it into crowlers and giving them away to first responders, to hospitals and teachers as well who were affected by everything, and later firefighters when the fires were happening. So we were able to be a little bit nimble with that product and give it away in a meaningful manner. And then, of course, there was a can shortage that was happening due to not being able to get the resources because recycling facilities weren't able to get people in. And I mean, there are all sorts of reasons. So we had to switch over to bottles. But fortunately, we we're very fortunate that we produce a product that was uh, something that people wanted during the pandemic. So we did not have to cut any jobs. We did not have to. We didn't suffer too badly, in part because we were so nimble and because fortunately people still really like our products.
Awesome. And thank you everybody who's been sending in questions now. We're getting a ton of questions coming in. So hopefully we'll have time for all of them. Number one was Sloan's is awesome. Any thought of expanding further south? Monument would be awesome. Hint, hint.
I'm not sure about what our next expansion is at this point, since we did 2 in about a month. I don't know that we're going to be doing any in a while, but it would be interesting to see facilities elsewhere in Colorado, because now that we have 2 in Denver, it might be good to share the love.
Awesome. The next question was any programs with CSU students?
I do a lot of talks with CSU students, but we don't really do any programming necessarily. I have spoken to, I don't know, I can't even remember all the different classes that I've spoken to, a business one and one on waste management, and there were a bunch of others as well. And I also do tours. So normally, not right now, unfortunately, as you may be aware, since we're doing this type of presentation, but yeah, normally we do have specialty tours, especially for, we love having students in. You guys always ask great questions, and faculty too, everyone.
Yeah. Next question is with the origin in English ale, have you considered an English bitter?
We have done English bitters in the past. Unfortunately, the US does not have a big capacity, or not a big interest, I guess, in terms of getting that style. So we usually do it just in terms of a pilot beer that's available in our tap room. Large scale, I don't think it would sell very well. And our sales folks agree, unfortunately.
Sweet. Okay, next question. It says, will you get better distribution with Arizona's Safeway soon? Very limited by their area.
I'm not really sure about that. I can't, no comment.
Okay, no worries. The next one says, does Odell grow any of the ingredients for their beer?
We do not. We have considered it in the past. One thing we're considering is we do have a 13-acre lot in our backfield that is full of calcium carbonate from sugar beet processing facility that was in the area. They use the calcium carbonate to remove organic matter from the sugar to make it more pure. And then they just dump it in piles everywhere. And we have 13 acres of it that's about 20 feet deep on average. And it grows weeds really well, but we can't really do much else with it. We can't build on it because it doesn't compact at all, and it's very expensive to get rid of. So we were considering, there are some varieties of barley that I believe it was barley, maybe it was rye. I apologize, I don't remember specifically, but there is a type of grain that we could brew with that likes horrible soil. So we are actually considering maybe doing a test round with that. It kind of fell off the table along with everything else last year, but that is a possibility. We're also thinking of putting solar panels back there, but that's another thing. But no, besides that, we don't grow anything. We just have really good relationships with all of our growers. We have an agronomist on staff, Scott Dorsch, who works really closely with all of our growers. So we work with sustainable growers and ones that do well for their people as well.
Awesome. Next question says, you had mentioned it was intentional to start the brewery in a university town. Why was that? And how have you built / continued to build the relationship with CSU?
Yeah, so
it's a 3-part question. Sorry, I got another one.
Oh, sorry.
Also, is there anything we can look forward to in the future?
Yes. So So a university town tends to be a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more, well, at least at the time period. I think that it's true now, but maybe more true then, that university towns tend to be more willing to try new things, just because they're new people who are just trying everything out. Once they're in college, that sounds a little odd, but they're figuring out who they are and what they want to drink and what they want to do with their lives. And so it really allows us to just come up with more fun products. And yeah, I think that university towns benefit from their universities immensely. I mean, you can't take CSU out of Fort Collins without completely changing what Fort Collins is and who we are as a town. Um, so yeah, I think that that is, I don't know, kind of an odd way of answering that question. What was the second one? Oh, how we have worked with CSU over the years? Yeah. So we've been a very long time supporter of CSU in a number of different ways because we believe, obviously, that a university in our town is a great thing. And and part of it, obviously, is you guys have a pretty good fermentation sciences program that has grown over the years. And we have supported it for over 20 years now. I think it was last year was the 21st birthday of the our support or something along those lines. I apologize. Last year, I lost a lot of my information of what's going on since we were all a little bit disconnected. But um, yeah, we have worked a long time with the fermentation sciences program, supporting financially and also allowing the bringing in the students to actually brew on our pilot system so they get an industrial experience and supported their new growth. Yeah, we think fermentation is a great thing and that people should be learning about it. Uh, but yeah, just CSU in general, outside of the fermentation sciences program, is something that we are always supportive of higher education.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, new upcoming things, wine, obviously. That one is brand new coming out. And well, the tasting room, I should say, we have had our product available for about a year now. And then in terms of beers, wow, I really have been out of the loop. I'm only getting into work about 3 days a week and I can't go to taste panels. So we're only allowing 2 people in at once. I used to go every day, but I actually honestly don't know what's coming up. I apologize. I really should have prepared for that. Hmm. But we always have great things coming up. I know that.
That's okay. You can send me a list later and I can send it
Okay.
to everybody else.
Okay.
Also, I would love to throw out Jeff Calloway is here too from the Fermentation Sciences program.
Oh,
And
hi,
he said
Jeff.
last year was 15 years.
15
And thanks
years.
again for all of it.
Okay. I'm just adding years. It's been for a long time.
Okay, next question says, and I think you touched on this already a little bit, was has COVID impacted the tap room side of business negatively? And have they been able to open up much?
Yes, it has definitely hit the tap room hard. That was one of the areas that obviously had to be closed down for a long time. And so we put all of our people to use in different ways, updating the tap room a lot, painting and fixing chairs and taking out giant bushes that had been there for a really long time that we'd always hated. And really all sorts of odd jobs, helping with filing and finance and shelving beer as well. I wasn't the only one who was doing it. A lot of our taproom folks were helping out with that shortage as well, just moving beer onto shelves in supermarkets and liquor stores. So yeah, it was difficult. I have to say to keep everyone going, but we wanted to make sure that they were still getting paid and that they were still able to do something. So that piece was definitely more challenging. Once we opened up, again, we were a lot lower in terms of our capacity, and still are. We're at, I forget what capacity we're at now, but we're following all guidelines to make sure that when I think we're at the highest level of capacity. because we want to make sure that we can bring everyone in safely. And we're actually doing pretty well in terms of our sales. Overall, over the last year plus, they've definitely been lower than normal, like significantly lower. But it is what it is, and I feel that we have done really well considering the issues at hand, and we haven't had to let anyone go, which I think is the most important piece.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Um, who were some of the earliest local businesses that helped sell early versions of Odell on tap?
Yeah. Well, so one of our first was Tap and Handle. Wait, no, not Tap and Handle. Why am I saying that? Town Pump. Geez, I'm sorry. Town Pump. They've been around for forever, and they were one of our first taps. I think Old Chicago might have been the first one, actually. Uh, let's see. We the Moot House also is one of our longest accounts. Yeah, I think those are the ones that Doug tends to talk about the most often, because we've had great relationships with them since the very beginning.
Cool. Next question that I have is says, what's the nature of the relationship between Odell and the CSU community, alumni, faculty, staff, and students? Do you think you can?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that I have anything to say outside of what I have in the past. Just general support, I guess, from us to CSU, and likewise, we hope that CSU enjoys us as well. And I know that through Jeff, that is definitely the case, at least on that side.
Awesome. The next question says, what is the source of the water?
That is a very good question. So we get all of our water through the city because we are on city property. We did have to buy water rights to turn over to the city to make sure that we are secure in the future, because we are incredibly efficient with the water that we use to produce our beer. On average for craft breweries, it's about 7 gallons of water to produce 1 gallon of beer, and we are about 3.2. So if the water restrictions come, we don't have a lot to cut because we're already pretty slim as is. So we did buy water rights, turn over to the city so that if water restrictions come, we will, of course, follow that as much as we can. But we don't want to have to cut jobs if we can have an alternate way of moving forward. And we're also very happy with city water, I should say. Like for example, the High Park fires in 2013, and then the floods, or 2012 and then the floods in 2013, whatever years those years were. There was a lot of ash that was coming down the river, which could change the flavor of the beer. And we worked really closely with the city, us, other breweries as well, to make sure that our product wasn't being affected by the water that was the water issues that were happening.
Awesome. Okay, next one is, will you guys bring back the cloud catcher?
Probably as a pilot beer. Unfortunately, it's one of those that didn't do as well as we had hoped. It seems like it always happens. Cloudcatcher, Settle Down Brown. Oh my goodness, Lugene. That's one that we're only coming back with occasionally because unfortunately they just weren't selling as well as we'd like them to. And of course, we have some really diehard fans of all of those and others that we've dropped over the years. But when they're not doing as well in market, it's time to move on to something new, something different.
Awesome. Next question, it says, who are some of the, oh, wait, we already did that one. What is the highest percentage of alcohol content of beer that can be brewed?
I'm not really sure where the line is before it's no longer considered beer, but we did produce a beer that was about 20 something percent, 21, 22%, I want to say at one point. It doesn't really taste that good at that point, but we can do it.
Awesome. And then the next one is, how do you carbonate the beer? Is it with dry ice or bubbling carbon dioxide into a vat?
Yeah, so there is some natural carbonation already from the fermentation process. Fermentation produces CO2, but then we also put it, yes, it's bubbled through. CO2 that we purchase in bulk in a compressed tank is pressurized through. And that's actually, thank you for asking that question because we're going into sustainability really quick. We are actually working on a project to recapture our CO2 from our fermentation, to clean it, pressurize it, and use it for our own carbonation. That's something that we have not been successful with in the past, in part because CO2 is pretty cheap and those systems are very expensive. But we are finally at the point where we want to make that happen. So we're hoping to start the installation next year for that to happen. And hopefully we won't have to purchase CO2 outside of what we're producing anymore, which I think is so exciting.
That's awesome. Okay, next question is moving back to Fort Collins soon. Is there a running club, mug club, or other sort of way to get involved and have an excuse to be at an Odell?
Well, we are kind of working on a running club. We have one in Denver for our 5 Points location if you happen to be down there, but and that happens every Tuesday. But no, we don't really have anything like that, but we do have an excellent outreach program. So if you want to follow that, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities through that. We really sometimes you'll get to work with the coworkers. Sometimes it's a project that we're supporting that you'll get beer from, or at least be able to work with Carla, our outreach coordinator. She's awesome. Yeah, so those are probably the biggest ways of connecting with what we're doing outside of normally when we are doing like, events and supporting things like that.
And just to clarify, your outreach program is the HOP Pennings? Is that what it is?
Sorry?
I was just looking it on the website, the Odell Outreach HOP Pennings program. Is that what it is?
Oh, no, we just call it Odell Outreach. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Okay.
Sorry.
I will, no, it's all good. I was gonna
Yeah.
share the link for you, but no worries.
Oh.
Uh,
Yeah, if you go on our website, there's a I think it's uh impact. There's a tab called impact that kind of talks about all that stuff. And if you follow us on Instagram, that's uh funnily enough one of the easiest ways for us to get involved.
Okay. Cool. Next question. It says, did you ever add other gases to beer like Guinness has? Blah.
Nitrogen?
Yeah, like Guinness has nitrogen. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to have a nitrogen tap consistently for our Cutthroat Porter and sometimes a hoppy beer, which uh, was kind of a love-hate thing for people. But over the years, they just weren't selling as well, and they were a little bit more of a pain to pour. So we decided to cut them. Yeah, we still do at specialty sometimes, but it's not available regularly.
Awesome. It says, do you do any chemical research into beer brewing? Do you have any labs or published articles about beer brewing?
I don't know that we have anything published, but we do have a very excellent quality lab team at the brewery. And so we're consistently checking everything. Our yeast, we have a bunch of different propagations of yeast for our different products. Like our lager yeast is different than our house ale yeast, is different than our we have a Belgian one going on for our Whitkist and kind of a sour stock for our Sip and Pretty. So all of those are regularly tested just to make sure that we're doing that properly. And all of our beer is tested from start to after it's been on the shelf for a while. Those are that's pretty much the least we can do to make sure that our product is great going out into market and is great out in the market as well, especially if it's getting beat up by not being in coolers or being in the sun or stuff like that.
Awesome. Next question says, how do you utilize your spent grains?
Yeah, that is actually the easiest thing, the easiest waste stream for us to get rid of. It's a great food source for cows. We mix, or they, it's really high in protein, low in sugar, so it's mixed with alfalfa, and it produces a pretty great food source for them, especially for dairy cows. They produce more milk on it. So that's something, a relationship we've had for a very long time with Eugene. He is, well, he's a now retired dairy farmer. He still has his girls because he can't let them go, but he's not milking them anymore. And yeah, he works with a number of local farmers and just shares that grain with all of them.
Awesome. Next question says, is there a list of all of the past beers?
No, I wish there was. Sometimes when I'm looking for something, I'm like, I swear we did this, or someone's asking me about a beer that we produced. Not really. I can remember a lot of them, but especially pilot beers, no.
Cool. Next one is, who does the can artwork?
Hmm. Thank you for that one as well. We have had a very long relationship with a woman called Mona. She actually did the, so if you remember the picture that I had of our rhino, I'm just going to share it. Because if we go up to this building, this actually is her artwork. She now does murals pretty much exclusively, except for our can art. She is really amazing in terms of being able to create motion in what she does and to create something that's really intricate. I absolutely love her work, and we're very fortunate that we've had someone like her to help us be consistent in our products and create something that is absolutely beautiful. We do sometimes for smaller releases or our pilot beers, we have in-house artists who are working on that. So our marketing team, they'll sketch something up to put on our beer.
Awesome. And then I have two more questions. So first one is, where do you get most of your hops from, and what region?
Mhm. So all of our hops come from the Pacific Northwest. Well, I shouldn't say all, some of them we do get from Colorado, but Colorado hop growing is still pretty new. It's not the best environment for growing hops. There are a lot more considerations in terms of what you need to do to make them healthy. And if you get a deep freeze, sometimes that can kill off your crop. And they take at least 4 years for them to actually produce anything. So it's not an easy thing to lose your hop crop. But yes, we get most of our hops from the Pacific Northwest. It's a great growing region. The hops really like being there, and we work with a lot of farmers that are doing things like salmon safe certification. So they're making sure that fertilizers aren't getting into the wastewater, into the streams. So their wastewater isn't getting into the streams. And trying to reduce pesticide use through different farming techniques.
Cool. And then last question I have, it says, do you distribute to the East Coast and all 50 states?
Nope. We are in 22 states now. We will probably never get into all 50 states. We like being a regional craft brewery. As I mentioned, we still do 60% of our total sales in Colorado, even with being in additional states, because we like focusing on home. And we also really want to always put support behind our product. So each state that we're in has its own representative, someone who's out there making sure that our distributors are doing well for us, that our customers are happy, that sort of thing. So we really put a lot of thought into putting our beer out there. We don't just send it out and say, come find us.
Awesome. And that is all of the questions that I have.
All right.
So with that, thank you so much, Corey, for doing this. Go let the dogs out, is what people are saying. And thank you, everybody, again, for being on tonight. are recording this, so we will send out the recording in a confirmation email in the next couple of days or so. So if you want to rewatch this, you can. Also, feel free to check out our YouTube channel for all of the other Beyond the Beer series. Just go to YouTube and type in CSU Alumni Association. Again, thank you so much, and go Rams.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Corey.
All right, bye.
Bye.